trip to Germany. First of all, just biggest takeaways on the team's performance looking back at that game.
A lot of energy. They came out with energy. They played the whole game with energy. They played the whole game fast. They played the whole game like they were rested. Proud of the effort.
Yeah, which is saying something considering they'd flown all the way over to Germany. To say that they came out with that kind of energy is even more impressive than normal. And did it have a different feeling in the locker room, maybe after the Rams game and then especially after this game? Does it feel like something has changed in terms of the vibe around the team?
In this game, the energy and the crowd was so loud and so electric. I think it just got everybody pumped up. The vibe that they came out to play with the energy and carried in the locker room. I thought that was different for us. You know, to have a 2-game streak going into the bye was very important for us going forward. And they started playing and believing in each other.
Do games like this carry over, or by the time the next game comes around, especially with a bye week, does it not necessarily have as much of that snowball momentum effect?
I don't think it has a snowball momentum. I think it gives you confidence. I think we know what we have to do going forward to run the table at the end of the season. And it gives the effort and the belief a lot stronger.
And I know that by, I think, midway through the second quarter, you guys had already passed your season average of rushing yards. What worked so well on specifically the run game? Are you lobbying for every game to be in Germany at this point?
No, I don't want to take that trip, number one. I think the offensive line did a great job, and they came out being very physical, and they stayed with it, and they were getting a hat on the hat. And I thought Rashad and Leonard did a great job running the football. Even Sneak had a great third down catch to move the chains for us. But going unnoticed was the receivers blocking down the field between Julio, Mike, and Chris. They were doing a great job turning a 5-yard play into a 10-yard play, and I thought that was important.
And what did you see from the offensive line, not just from the run game, but how they kept Brady clean and in the pass game?
Well, hat on the hat. When you get the run game going, you make people indecisive, so that opens up the pocket for the passing game, and we were able to get behind them for some big plays, and that was a credit to the offensive line, taking care of the pocket and keeping them clean and establishing the run game.
So looking at Leonard and Rashad's game, well, first of all, we saw Rashad came out getting the first reps out there. How much was that because of the Lenny passport uncertainty of if he was going to make the trip, and how much was that about game plan?
It was just game plan. You know, going out in certain packages, they all have certain plays. We started with Rashad's package, so Rashad went out first.
And this was his first over 100-yard game. And tell us what specifically you saw from Rashad that, yes, we know what the offensive line did, but what were the things you saw him do that really set him apart this game?
Well, he does it in practice. You know, he has the most uncanny way of setting up his blockers and letting the hole develop and then seeing the hole and scooting right through it. He can do those things. He has a knack for that. You can't teach that. That's something that you have to get over time, or you either develop in high school or college, and he has a very good knack of always creating the right space for the offensive line and creating a hole for himself to run through, and we thought that was very good.
I know myself and everyone that I was sitting around at the game, when he threw that stiff arm, we got really fired up. What was your reaction in the moment when you saw that?
It was great that he can be physical. Usually guys from Arizona don't come out that physical, but Arizona State, but he did a heck of a job right there. Finishing runs, and he runs angry, so he learned something from Leonard.
This is what I love, that even when a guy makes an amazing play, you find ways to throw some shade in there with your smack talk ability. I think that's a very impressive thing. I enjoy that.
I don't know if it's shade, it's just more or less keeping them grounded.
Yeah, don't let him get too high. Never let him get too high. And then how about Lenny's game? And first of all, how's his health after being ruled out midway through the game, and his availability moving forward?
We'll see about next week. He has a week to get healthy, so it's a hip pointer. We'll see how much treatment takes care of that, and we'll reevaluate next week. So we'll go from there.
Yeah, and what did you see from his performance before he went out of the game?
Lenny was tough as well. He got some good inside runs. He had 15 carries for 47 yards, about 4.1 a carry. I think both of them were on the way to a good ball game.
And I know that this was the first touchdown scored for Chris Godwin since coming back from his ACL, and Julio Jones' first touchdown as a Buccaneer as well. Take us through maybe both of those scores and what those guys did so well.
It was good for Julio because once he caught it, you saw the acceleration. You know, you saw him run. I mean, he was really running. So that was great to see, and he stayed healthy the entire game. For Chris, his injury getting better and better. He looks 100% now. He's out there doing everything he's been doing before he got hurt, and you're just happy to see it.
To have a game with Mike, Chris, Julio all out there looking like healthy versions of themselves the whole game, did you feel like you got a chance to see what the plan had kind of always been for what this offense could look like, and the way that the trio of them out there together can influence what the defense is forced to do?
Hopefully you want it to start to click. Obviously the run game and the pass game feed off of each other. Having those guys out there always helps, but they're starting to gel at the right time.
I know we had talked so much about the situational football, specifically, with offense, third downs and red zone. In this game, you're 10 of 15 on third downs and 2 of 3 in the red zone. What specifically worked well in those scenarios this game?
We had third and manageable yards. At least 7 third downs were either 3 or less. So when you get 7 third downs from 1 to 3 yards, you have a very good chance of making them.
Biggest reason in your mind that this game had as many 80-plus yard drives as you'd had the whole season leading up to this point, was there one thing you think you can point to as to why the drives were sustained longer this game?
The offensive line. I think they played a good ball game. I think they kept them clean. I think they opened holes up, and I think they did a great job, and they were a big reason why.
Are we moving Tom Brady to wide receiver moving forward?
Not even in a 5-year-old and under league.
That's amazing. He sent out a tweet saying he felt like if he just hadn't slipped on the turf that he'd have mossed him, that he was ready to just go up over the top, take it out. You're saying you don't know that you quite picture that?
I have seen the vertical. He has a great vertical, and I've seen him at the combine, and he goes to the top of the verticality chart when he does the sheet. Now, he has a trampoline when he does it, but he does.
We can just get him out there, then we're good to go on that front. So outside of his attempt at wide receiver, tell us what you saw from Brady's performance in the game.
I thought he had great command. The pocket was clean for him. He made some outstanding throws down the field. Obviously, the run game set up some of the passes that we had, and he engineered the game, I thought, perfectly for the most part.
All right, well, we have more coming up here on the Todd Bowles Show, going even more into this game in Germany. We'll be right back. Welcome back into the Todd Bowles Show. Casey Phillips here with head coach Todd Bowles. Let's talk a little bit about the defense now. Holding Walker to 17 yards on 10 carries. We had talked before this game about how impressive he had looked so far this season. What do you credit that to, and how exciting was that for you to see this defense get back to the kind of run stopping that you'd become known for?
I think the defensive line, Akeem Hicks helped with a lot of that. Having him back in the lineup when the second week healthy with Vita, and the outside backers understanding that the corners tackled as well. We think he's one of the better backs in the league. Obviously, it started with him. We thought if we took him away, they'd have a hard time getting down the field because they couldn't do both. When they can do both, they are dangerous because of all the talent they have outside. But Walker is a heck of a back, and for us to do that with him, it says a lot about the guy's preparation.
We heard about how Devin White lost his dad basically as you guys were about to get on the plane to go to Germany. First of all, just what was that like for you to go through as a coach, how you tried to handle that and help him as his coach in that moment to make some of the transitions from dealing with something so heavy emotionally to being on the field and just going through that process with him?
It's tough, It's kind of like the third guy this year that had one of their parents pass away. So it's hard because Devin's such an emotional guy and he's an emotional leader. But being around the team and the teammates have helped him out a great deal. I think Levante helps him out a great deal. Coach Foot helps him out a great deal. When he's by himself, it's harder. When he's around the team, I think it energizes him some and pushes him forward to move on. And you can appreciate that about him. As a coach, all you can do is feel for him and try to be there for him when he's ready to talk.
And knowing what we knew about what he was going through, I feel like his game would have been incredible regardless. But then to know that, just tell us your thoughts on his performance and what that says about him as a person and as a player that he was able to come out and play the way he did.
I thought he was very active. He had a lot of production for us. There was even a couple more times he was free getting a sack and the ball was coming out. But he plays with energy like that. Everybody else just piggybacks and rides on his coattails because he can be a force.
And tell us what he did so well on the sacks and the forced fumble and just how exciting it was for the defense to finally produce that elusive turnover you'd been waiting a few games for.
Well, we need more than that, but, he got after the quarterback. He ran the stunts well. He ran the games well. He has great acceleration. When he saw Geno break the pocket, we talk about punching the ball out all the time. He saw an opportunity, he took advantage of it. And, he's one of our better playmakers.
In the same way we talked about the success you guys had on third down offensively, third down defensively held them to 1 of 9. That's got to be music to your ears. And what did you think specifically on third down you guys were doing so well?
I thought they disguised well. I thought they understood what they were trying to do, and they executed very well for the most part. That's been big the last 2 weeks for us. We can get people off the field and get them in third and longer yardage and get off the field and give our offense a chance. That helps us out a great deal.
Yeah, I felt like we got a little taste of mad scientist Todd Bowles when I saw at least one play where all of a sudden the outside linebackers and the inside are switching spots, and then you're taking the outside guys up the middle. You're doing some trickery.
Smoke and mirrors. Sometimes it's smoke and mirrors. It's not what it's cracked up to be.
Come on, we're trying to give you credit here. We're trying to give you credit for your mad
smoke
scientist.
And mirrors. Only if they work. Only if they work. I think with Avery and Joe out there, we were more athletic, so we were able to do certain things that we wouldn't have been able to do if it was just Carl and maybe Hicks out there. We can't do that with Nacho and Will out there, but certain guys and certain times we can take advantage of things. We try to show some misdirection or show some disguise to try to offset some of the things they're trying to do.
And speaking of Joe Tryon-Shrinka, do you feel like this was one of, if not his best game potentially since he's been here?
I think he was active. I think he's had a better game or two there, but we need him to be this active. He has the ability to do what Devin's doing from an outside backer standpoint. We just need more of that. And he's starting to come into his own, and he's getting better week by week. We just need to see him turn it loose for 4 quarters.
And Jamel Dean taking on DK Metcalf, that's not an easy assignment for anybody. How did you feel he handled that matchup and then just his game overall?
DK is tough because he's not only fast, but he's big and strong. He has the strength of a tight end. I thought Dean did a good job competing. He hung in there on everything. He didn't give up a touchdown. He slipped a few times, but for the most part, I thought he held his own. I was proud of him.
All right, well, we have more coming up here on the Todd Bowles Show. We'll be right back. Welcome back into the Todd Bowles Show. We are continuing to talk about that win in Germany. I know that you were able to have Antoine Winfield, back in the lineup, and then saw that Sean Murphy-Bunting still taking some reps at nickel. What was some of the decision-making on how and when you used those guys?
Well, he's just coming off a concussion, so you don't really want him up there in the action. So we wanted him back patrolling the middle a little more. He's our best middle field player as well. We wanted to make sure we had some short tackling if number 9 got out of there. And we were playing a little more man coverage, so Sean was more adequate to handle the slot, and Sean did a great job last week as well. So we kind of went with that lineup, and we'll see what we go with after the bye week.
What did you think of the overall experience and atmosphere of playing the game in Germany? I know that sometimes the season can become a bit of a repetitive nature, and did it feel like this was something that changed the feeling at the midway point to go do something a little bit unique and different in that way?
I don't know if it changed the feeling, but going out there, we thought it was tough. But once we got there, it was a really nice place. I thought the crowd and the people were outstanding, and they yelled and screamed all the way through. So it got everyone's energy up, and I thought that was a big deal to play out there and to play the way we did with the crowd like that. I thought was important for us.
You mentioned that you'd played in Germany. I mean, it was a preseason game, so definitely different in that sense. But what does it feel like has maybe changed since then in terms of the reception and just in the enthusiasm that the fans have over there? If you think back to when you played to the experience now and just what that was like.
I think because the game has expanded so much worldwide, I think they're more knowledgeable about things and they understand things a little bit more. So even the crowd was into it. It's like a college crowd, It was like a college crowd, even though they did John Denver. They did John Denver, and they did the wave, and they did everything else. I thought the crowd was exciting. That got everybody going.
What was your favorite part of the experience, and obviously, other than just getting a win? For you, what do you think? Because I knew that's what you were going to say. See, this is how I sneak you into getting something else. For you, looking at just this as a experience for you, even as a coach, what will the things be that you remember from an experience like this?
Ooh, they had good pretzels.
Yes, that's just right below getting
they
the win.
They had good pretzels, and I thought the people were very nice. I could have swore when I went to Berlin, all the steering wheels were on the right, and the left side of the road was the right side of the road. And then when I got there this time, it was normal, just like back in the States, and I was kind of baffled a little bit. So maybe that's changed. Maybe I'm delirious, but just going out there as a whole, experiencing another country and playing in another stadium. I thought the soccer stadium was big, and the practice stadium was outstanding. I've seen it on TV, but never live and in person like that. For them to embrace our game when they're really a soccer type of team, stadium, country, it was very important. I thought they were more than generous. I think that was something special.
You talked about the team coming out with so much energy. How did you think the team overall handled just the difficulty of a trip like this? That whether it is the long flight, lack of sleep, the change of habits of what they typically do, what did you see about why you think the team was able to handle this as well as they did?
They did a good job adjusting. They handled their bodies throughout the week. We talked about it all week. We tried to give them as much rest as they could physically. So, when it came to go out there, they were mentally and physically ready to play. I thought they got their sleep caught up between Friday night and Saturday night. They came out that way. I thought the leaders and the veterans on the team did a good job of leading the younger guys, and, they performed well.
All right, well, we have one more segment coming up here on the Todd Bowles Show. We'll be right back. It's time for our final segment here on the Todd Bowles Show. So now going into the bye week, which I'm sure is very welcome after a long trip like that. How well timed does it seem like this is for the team right now, and in terms of the health and just where you guys feel like you're at momentum-wise? Is it nice to have a break to get healthy, or do you almost wish, because things are rolling well, that you had another game this week?
I think we need the break. We went 10 straight weeks, not counting the preseason. I think it's important for us to be healthy during the stretch run when we come back, so I think it came right on time.
How do you and the other coaches try to use the bye week? That we know for players a lot of it is rest, and then what do you guys do in terms of when you start game planning for the next team, and do you do a lot of self-scouting? Do you feel like you already did a lot of that with the mini bye after the Thursday game recently?
We do self-scouting and we prepare for Cleveland. Obviously not as much. It's not as crammed all into one spot, so you can work a half a day and get out, and then you can come back and work another half a day. So we'll look at Cleveland. We'll look at some things we can do better. Obviously we're still self-scouting every week, and we'll get started on Cleveland early so we're not cramming into it come next week when the players get back.
So I know that you haven't really begun that prep yet, but high level, looking at this Cleveland team, we know that there's been a lot of stories about them this year that they are not what we maybe thought they were going to be based on the quarterback change. So high level, just some of the biggest things that you guys are going to have to be on the lookout for on each side of the ball from them.
Well, offensively, Nick Chubb, obviously one of the best running teams in the league, may have one of the best backs in the league and one of the best offensive lines. Not to mean they cannot throw with Amari Cooper out there. Defensively starts with Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward. They have very athletic guys. They have ball hawk guys in the secondary, and they can get after the passer. So it's going to be a big challenge for us because they're going to put a lot of pressure on us.
Is it exciting for you as a coach who does like to, as you put it earlier, use the smoke and mirrors, to have more time to prepare for a team like this? Do you feel like it lets you kind of bust out all the stops a little bit more?
I think I work better with less time. The more time, the more stuff you come up with, you drive yourself crazy. So I kind of like less time. It doesn't matter if it's not effective. Sometimes you just got to let guys go. You can get in your own head if you're not careful. So I got to be careful when I come up with things. The coaches will talk me out of some things. I'll talk myself out of some things, and just make sure we're doing the right things come game time.
And knowing the bye week is kind of a time for reflection, looking at this first 10-game stretch, what would be the high-level picture of what you've seen of who this team has been and who the team could be moving forward?
I think we started slow. Even with the 2 wins in the first 2 games, we started slowly. We struggled a little bit with adversity in the 3 games after that. I think they fought through it. I think they worked hard. I think they put their heads down, and I think they understand what it takes. So going forward, hopefully we're the same team that we were in Germany going forward for the last 7 weeks of the season.
What would be one area that you would most want to see improvement in or growth in that maybe, or that already kind of happened these last couple games, but moving forward to the last 7 games of the season, what would you want to see the most area of growth?
The third downs on both sides being number 1, obviously continually running the football with some success, getting touchdowns in the red zone and preventing touchdowns in the red zone, and our kicker putting it in the end zone every time.
All right. Well, thank you again so much, Coach, and congratulations on that win. Hope you enjoy that much-deserved time off in the bye week.
Will do, Case.
All right, and thanks to all of you guys for being with us on the Todd Bowles Show. We'll see you next time.